The Great Wall of China, an architectural marvel that stretches majestically across China's mountainous landscape, has fascinated humanity for centuries. However, behind its imposing beauty and rich history, lies a dark and mysterious reality that has long remained in the shadows. Today, on Extraordinary Walks, we will venture to explore the secrets behind the construction of this iconic structure, revealing uncomfortable and disconcerting truths that challenge traditional narratives. The Great Wall of China did not emerge from nowhere, but was the result of centuries of conflict, invasions, and expansionist policies. Although the construction of defensive walls in China dates back centuries, it was during the Qin dynasty that the most ambitious project was undertaken, uniting several pre-existing fortifications into a single continuous structure. But at what cost was this monumental undertaking carried out? The Great Wall of China rises majestically above the rugged landscapes of China, but behind its imposing presence lies a dark reality that has long been relegated to the shadows of history. The construction of the Great Wall of China is said to have involved thousands, if not millions, of workers who were subjected to inhumane conditions and ruthless treatment by their supervisors. Among these workers were prisoners of war captured during the Chinese Empire's numerous military campaigns. Forced to work in extremely dangerous conditions and with little or no regard for their well-being, these prisoners were reduced to mere tools in the hands of their captors, whose lives were worth little more than the effort they could contribute to the construction of the wall. In addition to prisoners of war, many of the workers who contributed to the construction of the Great Wall were slaves, torn from their homes and families to serve as cheap labor. Deprived of their freedom and treated as property, these slaves were subjected to extremely harsh working conditions, with endless days and shortages of food and water. Their suffering was ignored and their humanity despised for the sake of the ambition and grandeur of the empire. But not only prisoners of war and slaves were exploited in the construction of the Great Wall. There were also impoverished peasants, who, desperate to escape poverty and misery, were coerced to work on the project under threat of violence or reprisals against them and their families. For many of these peasants, the alternative was death or slavery, forcing them to submit to degrading and dangerous working conditions at the wall construction sites. As the years passed and construction progressed relentlessly, the Great Wall of China became more than just an impressive fortification. It became a monument to human cruelty and suffering. Behind its imposing appearance lies a story of tragedy and sacrifice, where each stone is impregnated with the pain and blood of those who built it. It is estimated that hundreds of thousands of workers lost their lives during the construction of the Great Wall, victims of a deadly combination of workplace accidents, disease, and ruthless abuse. On the dizzying cliffs and steep slopes where the wall was built, workers faced constant danger as they carried huge blocks of stone and dug deep trenches. Falls from heights and landslides were common events, taking lives in an instant and leaving behind families torn apart by grief. But physical dangers were not the only threat to workers. Living conditions in the construction camps were unsanitary and squalid, ripe for the spread of deadly diseases. Lack of hygiene and scarcity of food and drinking water were the perfect breeding ground for epidemics of diseases such as dysentery, cholera, and plague, which mercilessly decimated the ranks of workers. However, perhaps most disturbing is the final fate of those who succumbed during the construction of the wall. Their bodies, mute witnesses of human suffering, were buried in the foundations of the very structure they had helped to build. Buried under tons of stone and dirt, these anonymous workers were condemned to be forgotten by history, their lives reduced to mere bricks in the construction of an empire. Thus, the Great Wall of China became more than just a defensive fortification. It became a monument to human tragedy, where every stone and every inch of land is impregnated with the sacrifice and suffering of those who gave their lives in its construction. Despite efforts to conceal this inconvenient truth, the legacy of suffering and oppression associated with the construction of the Great Wall has endured throughout the centuries. The stories of enslaved workers and their families have been passed down from generation to generation, reminding us that behind every stone of this architectural marvel lies human tragedy.